But my name is Ryan Valencia. I'm the chair of the Simi Valley Emerging Leaders Program, a program of our 5-star accredited Simi Valley Chamber of Commerce. And so tonight's event, we are going to be joined by our state senator for the 27th district, Senator Henry Stern, and he will share his experiences as well as his story that led to where he is today. But before we get there, a little bit of an overview of our purpose of Emerging Leaders is to educate, it's to build networking opportunities, and it's to serve the community as a whole. So one of the things that we did when restructuring Emerging Leaders is expand our purpose. So, normally we had big wig talks and some lunches in the past, but we really wanted to make sure that there was something there for everybody. So every single quarter, we do cycle through 3 main events. That includes a service project 1 month. Another month is a community connections event such as this, where we do get to talk to prominent leaders in the community, as well as the third event being our socials, which have been taking place in the evening, but we're going to begin to change that up a little bit more so that there's variety of times for people to be able to join us. So in terms of upcoming events, we do have a volunteer opportunity to help the Friends of the Library with their summer blowout sale. The Friends of the Library are a nonprofit based out of the Simi Valley Library. They need assistance on Friday, August 6th. That's Friday, August 6th, for a 2-hour shift to help with setup between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m., 12 p.m. through 2 p.m., or 2 p.m. through 4 p.m. And again, they'll need help on August 7th for a 2-hour shift to clean up from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So if you can help between any of those times, any hour, 2 hours that you can give, please let us know, particularly Sam Shapiro, who is our amazing staff member from the chamber. And yeah, there's limited spots available per shift. We're trying to get between 4 or 5 people, I believe, right, Sam, per shift. So if we can get to that number, we'd very much appreciate it. So whatever time that you can give, thank you very much. Next, we'll have our networking event on August 17th. That's a Tuesday. And by switch it up, we're going to, instead of the evening, be in the morning. So it's going to be a coffee break, an informal morning networking meetup from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Lucky Dog Cafe in Simi. That's on Tapple Street. And then it's free to attend, and food/drinks will be available for purchase, and you can register at simichamber.org. simichamber.org. And then, okay. And then we will be hosting a low-cost professional head shop. This is very important. This one is great, and this came from Sam's idea box. And we will be hosting a low-cost professional headshot event on Tuesday, August 24th from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. For a $10 suggested donation, you receive 1 digital copy of your image, retouching available for an extra fee. There are limited spots available, so please reserve your space today. And I say it's very important because I know that there's a lot of people out there that their LinkedIn profile is maybe a little bit funky with what picture that they choose. And actually, one of my best headshots I've ever received was when the Conejo Chamber did a free headshot event. And so, the fact that this is a low-cost event for young professionals, please take advantage of that. Spread the word. So that is August 24th. That's a Tuesday between 4 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. A reminder to please join our Facebook group and follow our Instagram page as well. So, yeah. So, Senator, how are you doing? You hear me all right, Senator?
What's up, Ryan?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. Just trying to pass a budget. I'm in
one of those pesky things.
Yeah, I'm in the Maddie Lounge, which is I'm all alone here, which is why I have my mask off. But this is like where this is where all the senators kind of like, talk or eat, or we used to. No one really hangs out anymore. We just wear masks and kind of hide on the floor. But yeah, sorry for being late. I know we had to improvise. We're We had 8 different budget bills we're passing right now.
It's no
Got some
problem at all.
broadband coming your way, some cannabis. What else do we have? There's internet, there's cannabis. We've got a film tax credit. We've got some water. What else? Education. Just a little bit.
All important things. And I think that managing the 5th largest economy in the world is kind of a demanding job. So definitely legislature has a very long process. I know. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to do a very long introduction. I don't think you need that long of an introduction. I have a long one written in front
Don't
of
give
me.
it to me. No.
But the only thing I'm going to say is that, like we mentioned, Senator Stern's representing the 1 million people of the 27th district, and he knows this district like the back of the hand because he's a son of this district. And he's provided great leadership. He's chaired the Senate Natural Resources and Water Committee. He's recently been appointed as chair of the Joint Legislative Committee on Emergency Management. His expertise is in a variety of areas, but I mainly want to thank him for his leadership on, tackling climate change, on wildfire preparedness, improving our democracy, and assisting vulnerable populations, and all this emergency planning that goes along with that as well. This is a smart guy. He has an undergraduate degree from Harvard University. He earned his law degree from UC Berkeley, and he's recently married in 2019. Not too recent, but still, they're still in the honeymoon.
We're still in the
phase.
honeymoon phase. Honeymoon phase and baby phase. We sort of combined them both.
Yep. So, congratulations to you on that. But, we really want to thank you for your leadership in all those various areas. And, we'll have some follow-up questions afterwards, a little bit more about your background. But I really want to hand the floor to you and being able to address our emerging leaders here locally and see.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited to be with you all. And do we want to, Ryan, I don't want to belabor it, but I see some faces and then I see shy people too. But does anyone want to I just want to get a sense of who is joining us a little bit here too. Does anybody want to say hi out the gates? I can do a quick intro, but do you want to toss it around the horn? And if anyone wants to say hello, I don't know where they're from, what they're up to.
So to start,
a little iterative.
This is Jackie McMillan for MWD. The reason I'm not sharing my screen is I'm stuffing my face right now with dinner. So
you know what? I spared y'all. I ate a tuna sandwich just now, so I actually But do it.
And again, I'm not a young professional, but I'm really intrigued to hear what you're going to share with this young group because again, you're a tremendous asset to our state. You're very nonpartisan, and I've already given you glowing testimony.
I know. Jeremy told me you were too nice.
Man, you're
a rising star or something. I don't know who gave you that talking point, but I will say, Jackie, I just met with your new leadership at Med, and it's a very exciting time in water and a harrowing time, frankly. It's a kind of scary, and the stakes are super, super high, but I was very impressed with Adele.
Well, it's good to hear that. He's a new face. It seems like we're going to be going in a different direction. So staff is going to have to kind of like tighten their belt and just kind of go with the flow. But again,
one water.
Yes. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for doing
Thanks,
this.
Jackie.
I want to hear what you have to tell the young people. So I'm going to shut up, guys.
Okay. Come in. Come sit. I'm on a Zoom. Don't worry. It's like I'm just playing around. Did they feed you? They didn't give you dinner, right? I had to order them. Yeah. Oh well.
I do accept DoorDash, so go ahead.
So, well, as Ryan and Jackie said, I'm senator for your area and all the way out to Santa Clarita. I go sort of Malibu to Magic Mountain. So it's a big stretch, and we go Sherman Oaks, sort of the edge of that 405, all the way up out to Northridge, and then north from there out to Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park area. So big stretch of land, a lot of beautiful country, and a really diverse set of constituencies. And if we have we got Ronald Reagan buried in our district, and the heart of the Republican Party, and we got the heart of Topanga Canyon and the hippies, and we've got it's the working people of Canoga Park, and got some Kardashians sprinkled in there, and it's quite a interesting mix to try to represent. But we just try to work hard, and Jeremy's been sort of the tip of the spear for us back home. But Jeremy and Nick and the rest of my team down south, we've been just struggling from the get-go, just with real crises, and that's frankly what's driven the agenda. And for most of the time we've been there is come in on mega wildfires, and we had a terrible borderline shooting, and now your power gets shut off, or we have a pandemic. So it's a lot about been somewhat about crisis management, but then as you sort of get through crises and try to not micromanage them, but just try to figure out what the problems are, then how to get ahead of them going forward. So Ryan mentioned I took over this committee, the Joint Legislative Emergency Management Committee, and I've been trying since taking over to get ahead of disasters, not just respond to them better. We had Aliso Canyon happen right on my first time in office. 10,000 people got poisoned. The Santa Susana Field Lab, I don't know if that's on your radar. Y'all are Simi folks. So, crises abound. The homelessness crisis, I know folks want to declare it a state of emergency. And it is an emergency. It's a very different kind of emergency, but it's going to take all of us down, I think, if we don't change the way we approach this. And it's not just about money. It's going to be about new kinds of solution sets, I think, and a different way of approaching people who live on the street, and not sort of one size fits alling it, but starting to change the way we do street-based mental health care and substance abuse treatment and things like that. Our agenda right now has been sort of disaster mitigation focused and really thinking about vulnerable communities. So those of you who live out in that stretch of Simi know that, people think that it's all peachy keen and very, people, at least maybe you may not realize it, but they think of you all or me by proxy as a place of suburban privilege, and that there's really not many problems to be fixed, and it's mostly white and mostly rich, and what do you guys need? You don't need anything. But the fact is, we're an increasingly diverse community with a whole set of challenges that were exacerbated only more by the pandemic. So part of my job here is fighting to make the case for relevance. And even if you might have a Republican leaning city council, or a supervisor may have voted for Trump or whatever it is, I can't care about that when it comes to my job, right? I got to put blinders on and just try to hone in and serve. And so it's really even more important for me as a Democrat who represents a very mixed area to just cut through all that noise and get down to governing, right? So when a fire breaks out, nobody cares who's a Republican or a Democrat, right? You got to just put out a fire. So I feel comfortable in that space. That's sort of my natural MO. And I think you've had some leaders, when Christy Smith was up here in the assembly working with me, same kind of attitude. Jackie Irwin's very similar kind of leader. She's a little further west from you. She's Thousand Oaks, but you got some good people working for you up here. And I don't know. I'm curious what's on your mind. We can go into policy, and I can talk to you about politics or day in the life, but I'm curious to hear from you too, if folks aren't feeling too shy.
I think it's a little bit of all the above. As young professionals, I think a lot of what we want to hear as well is just your experience, you being a young professional yourself, technically. So your personal.
I was young. I'm the oldest possible millennial, right? So I graduated high school in 2000, so it makes me like an aged millennial.
By default, yes.
Grizzled.
So I have a few questions just so before we get to the open discussion part.
Yeah, please.
Just a reminder to all the folks on the call, you can put those questions into the chat, and I'll be sure to get to them. But I want to open with that kind of perspective of being a millennial. You were the first millennial in the state Senate, if I was correct, when you were first
That
elected.
is. That
And,
is.
and so do you
People
notice?
say that as an insult, by the way, Ryan. It's not just. I like to think it was a badge of honor, but yeah.
I know, and now the Gen Z has entered the
No, I
legislature
know.
too.
Guy was like my intern, 23 years old, went and ran for assembly and became an assembly member. I'm like, you're making me look old. Stop doing this. Like, let me be the special one. I'm not even special anymore. So I feel, yeah.
Well, state Senate's the senior
FOMO.
chamber, so yeah.
Yeah.
But do you notice any of that in terms of workplace differences, of style? What do you think there is to offer as, and I know there's folks that are very engaged in government advocacy on this call.
Yeah.
What do you think that millennials have to offer in terms of your perspective up there in the legislature?
Well, I mean, just thinking about old problems in new ways, and maybe being a little more open-minded when it comes to how to use people power, and sort of be a little more open than trying to solve things on our own. So like I find that there's a fair amount. Look, it depends. You don't want to characterize just based on age, but because there are some people who are team players or sort of don't take themselves too seriously who are older too. But I think there's something about being younger and the humility that necessarily comes with it, that you try to work as a team, and you don't self-announce too much, and you don't try to take yourself too seriously. And especially in the legislature, that's really, really important, right? Because we're not in an executive role. So it's a lot about helping other people out and team building, and trying to find other people to get other people credit. We just passed a $240 million film tax credit extension, for example. And, I've been nursing that thing along and trying to get, I want to get the Disney Ranch built and get some more sound stages built and build out the industry more and create some jobs. But come on in. Yeah, please. Yeah. But, I put other people first as the co-author on that, right? So, I mean, that, sometimes you got to share. It's all about the assist at times. It's not always about it's not always about getting the credit for yourself. So I think millennials or younger people tend to be good at that. Not as egocentric. But by the way, speaking of not millennials, these are now I'm in the hall of the Senate. You're getting the inside look at it all. But these are the old. This is who used to work here. Yeah, I don't think they're millennials. It might be a different millennial. I think if you're 1883, if you're Benjamin Knight. But yeah, it's been mostly old white guys running this place. If you look here, follow me. So let's take the old white guy tour. The old white guy, old white guy, old white guy, old white guy. Keep coming. These are all the people who've run the Senate forever. There's Clarence Ward and Ben Halsey, and then we just kind of keep going. Old white guy, old white guy, old white guy. And then we get here. We're at the very end, and then there's
Kevin.
Jewish guy, Latino, and the first woman ever, Tony Atkins, and that's our current president of the Senate. This is where we used to actually keep all our money for the state, or at least for the Senate. Now it's just there for show. But yeah, it's getting a little more diverse. I think we're getting a little more comfortable with youth and, people of color, different backgrounds. The LGBTQ community is like not really seen as marginal up here. I mean, people fight for, all kinds of different constituencies. So I think it's just an open-minded place, that especially now with new generations coming up.
You've come from the legislative staff side too. Is another piece of your background.
Yes.
Worked for Senator Pavley, I believe as
Yeah.
your advisor. So being on do you know what differences did you see there, or what did you learn new that you didn't know?
Blessing and a curse, to be staff. I mean, this. It's like going from being staff to then being a candidate or a legislator. Staff, you got to sweat the details. So you tend to be really good at getting in the weeds and making sure all the boxes are checked. I was very, I prided myself on a lot of diligence for not just Senator Pavley, but I worked for Henry Waxman before that on the Hill. And, So it definitely helps me kind of um, think about, how the problem is, it's like, oh, you think about how you would have done it, right? But the problem is, like, I'm not Fran Pavley, nor am I Henry Waxman. And so it's a little different because personality wise, it really depends on who you're serving with, right? And so when I work for Fran Pavley, she's an eighth grade social studies teacher, very, organized, had her folders, liked her like to write notes in the margins, and kind of a very like traditional way of doing work. Didn't know, you could never text her. She didn't have a cell phone really. So I mean, she did, but you didn't call her there. It was a different flow, right? But with me, I'm like, whatever. I'm up till 3:30 in the morning last night working, and it's a lot. I'm on Slack, and we're going super fast, and I'm like editing documents on my iPhone and trying to push things out. And so it's like, just in terms of workflow and style, it changes the pace a little bit. But I don't know. We like to go fast. I mean, there's a lot to do. So I think it's, like I said, blessing and a curse. I think, well, blessing for me, curse for everyone who works for me, because now they're like, can you just take a deep breath and slow down for a second? Like, when do you, like, please stop. When does it stop? It's like, as soon as the world is fixed, then it stops. That's when it stops. But I will say, though, really important lesson I've sort of pushed onto myself, or actually through my marriage, frankly, but knowing how to stop. And every week, I'm now been getting pretty disciplined about Friday nights, shutting down and shutting off my phone, and trying to go dark for a second and like take a beat. Not try to like save up for a big grand vacation every year, and like that ain't happening. There's no more vacation, but really, it's like every week, can I actually marshal the courage to shut the phone off, humble myself to realize I'm not the center of the universe, and take some time with my family and like with yourself. So I don't know. I mean, it's I do it for religious reasons, but it's also for my own mental health. It's a really big thing. So I think, as a very techie generation, how to learn how to slow that down and how to humble yourself, even though it feels like the world's at your fingertips, knowing when that by not creating sometimes, you can create more other times, right? So if you can slow yourself down for stretches of time and be really intentional about that, you can actually do more other times. And it's hard. It's a hard game to play, but I think the brain needs it. I don't think we're built to go all the time.
That was a great answer. Yeah, absolutely. And I know, having worked for a workhorse myself, yeah, no, it ideas are always going, they're always flowing. And
yeah,
you just gotta
and you feel bad because people are hurting, and people, you want to help people. So it's like, that's what keeps you up at night. You're like, more people to house, like more healthcare to deliver, more fires to put out. But
your district has seen its share of crises, so
yeah, but there are crises abound, right? So if you're pouring yourself into service, you're sort of, that's what you've committed yourself, is a perpetual feeling of inadequacy that you're not going to be able to do enough to help people truly, right? So it's a tough bargain to strike in service, but I don't know. There's nothing I'd rather be doing. It's amazing work.
And I have a follow-up question on that, but I'll hold that for a second, because I did get a question in the box here.
Sure.
And that is that from Mr. Gray. Speaking of upcoming crises, the California Aqueduct, in the event of an earthquake, was seen as a huge threat to water and safety 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
let Joshua let him bring it to me. Can you? Is he allowed to be unmuted, or is he not gonna?
Of course.
You don't want to get a whole Zoom bomb situation.
Director Gray, you go ahead.
I'm happy to phrase my own question. Yeah, so 10 years ago, was working with LA County, and a report came out about the potential catastrophic nature of, in the event of a inevitable large earthquake that's going to come,
Yes.
that they were saying the California Aqueduct would not hold. It
Correct.
would flood the Central Basin, and then you have,
Correct.
what is it, 15 million people at least in Southern California who don't have access to regular water. I was curious if you could speak to its current status and the possible sustainability, that if kind of when we do have that earthquake.
Yeah. You want to say if, but it's really when, and
Yeah.
it's and the the one, if you really want to freak yourself out, you take that California Aqueduct earthquake model and you map that over the atmospheric rivers model. And USGS did this after that report you're talking about. USGS came back and did what they call the arc storm model, like as in Noah's Ark. So if you put a atmospheric river, which is now the rain's coming really, really fast and all at once, not steady and sort of slow over time, which is what we really want, or, you know, build up the snowpack and let it slowly trickle. No, it's like all at once flood conditions, right? So if you get that on top of an earthquake, you could have yourself, I mean, 2 million people are it's gonna look like in 2 minutes, look like the folks down in Miami-Dade with their houses all pancaked. And you know, half of Los Angeles and the Central Valley are underwater. It's a $750 billion cost scenario. It's by far the largest ever natural disaster in U.S. history. I mean, that scenario, and there's a, you know, forget it, it's that confluence. It's like, you know, 15% likelihood over the next 20 years, but 50% likelihood of 750 billion, and then all these other scenarios down from that. It's astonishing, and it's almost like too much to get your head around. So we've just buried our heads in the sand instead. And we've been underinvesting in disaster resilience for a very long time in this state, and sort of not wanting to map ourselves the right way and acknowledge flood risks and acknowledge these things like drinking water risk. But the good thing is that, you know, we're starting to look at localized solutions, which to me is an inherent form of resilience. So if we start to localize infrastructure and make small the new big, you have enough redundancy to be able to survive these things. So think about it not just in a water context, but in a power context, or, you know, you name your issue, right? If you don't have to go to the gas station to a central pipeline system, but it can fill up at your house from a plug. And if that plug isn't just connected to a giant backbone power system, but it's distributed power that's closer to your community on a microgrid, then you kind of are self-dependent. And that same self-reliance is, I think, the only way we're actually going to be resilient against those sort of earthquake or flood scenarios as well. So, you know, if we're able, for instance, to have more water storage locally, we're working on a pure water project. There's a partnership between Callegas and Las Virgenes and DWP that's close to, hope we can get it done. We're starting to share storage resources locally in basin, ability to capture more stormwater, even to use the LA River and Sepulveda Basin as a stormwater and recycled water capture tool, and also trying to actually reuse the water itself, right? So we've got a couple multi-billion-dollar projects in the sort of greater Los Angeles area that wouldn't have to ship it all in, but you can actually localize it, and then you're not dependent on the aqueduct as much. And then whatever comes from the aqueduct is gravy, right? I mean, that can still be, but you're not just solely relying on one backbone. You've got sort of multiple backups, and that's what readiness is, right? The military plans to fight. I mean, when we think about how the U.S. military plans, they think about readiness as being able to fight 2 major wars and 3 small armed conflicts all at the same time, right? So we've got to start thinking about climate change and our disaster crises in the same way in terms of readiness and resilience. So, you know, I've been advocating for, just trying to get some localized investment in Southern California. We got a couple $100 million in the budget vote I'm about to take, coming towards local recycled water. I mean, there's about a $2 billion drought package, but it's going to go fast. It's not nearly enough. So the hardest part is to try to get people comfortable with the scale of what we actually have to spend, because the resources part of the budget tends not to be as big of a priorities, right? So we spend a ton on education, which is super, super important. We spend a ton on healthcare, which is also critically important, but we don't sort of think about this side of the equation as much. And, you know, ironically, Congress kind of has the opposite issue, right? So they're spending, we found the bipartisan support on an infrastructure package there, but not so much on the care economy and education. Whereas with us, we've been faster to move on health and education, but on infrastructure and resources, like not as not as much. So we got our work cut out for us. Yeah, go look up ArcStorm though. It's a wild one. We're doing a hearing on this, by the way, next week, Joshua, on next Wednesday. Going to have some people talk about scary things and try to actually start quantifying risk. But to me, it's like FEMA is going to become the climate agency of this next century, and trying to do hazard risk mitigation and trying to leverage federal dollars in this regard too is going to be crucial. Going to be so crucial. So I don't know. I think we can get some work done.
Thank you, Senator.
Those are senators.
Thank you.
I have like a way less
Those-
serious question.
Yeah, come at me. Let's
Okay,
do
so I
serious.
went to
Let's do not
college.
serious, sorry.
Okay, I went to college right next to where you went to college. So what was your favorite like go-to spot in Cambridge?
Pinocchio's probably. I was a big Pinocchio's
That's a
guy.
good
Like
one.
the
Was Cambridge
tomato
common
basil?
there when you went?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that? Are we voting?
Oh.
Okay, come with me for this vote.
All right, I think,
That it is 6:30 also.
yes, it is. And so,
Oh,
Oh, hey, inside
That's-
look.
Just how it actually look.
Oh,
Couldn't get the vote out of Melendez. Just wait. You guys are all going to be in suspense. Guess how I'm going to vote. Aye. There you go. Just revealed. I'm for the budget.
that's how the magic happens.
I think they're going to be rolling through these votes here shortly. But yeah, Pinocchio's. That's what I miss. Not Tommy's. Unless it was like really, really late and then Pinocchio's closed too early, then I'd have to go to Tommy's. But I won't say I was out that late. I never would do that.
Never. That's not
Where-
what college is
where-
for.
Yeah, exactly. Where'd you go to school, Samantha?
Leslie.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a better college. Like ours had a fancier title, but you guys actually learn more.
Sure. I won't confirm or deny.
I mean, we like to walk around and act important. We're like, hey, Jared. Hey, Mark.
I
Yeah.
like to do that too when walking from my campus to the like P. So
Exactly. We're easy to poke fun at. We deserve it. We're a bunch of like overeducated folks. What else? What else you guys got in your mind? I'll listen while I'm voting here for the next minute or two.
Well, Senator,
other
we'll do one more question just because I know that you have a lot to do, as well as let's hit 6:30. We'll take one more question if anybody has it for the senator, and then we'll wrap up after that. So does
Aye.
someone? Don't be shy. We got time for one more. All right. Well, I'll just wrap up with one question saying, Senator, what would you say your most rewarding win has been thus far?
Most rewarding win. I think getting mental health care for all the first responders for post-traumatic stress. They didn't have access. And we actually tried to destigmatize all that and starting to get firefighters and law enforcement officials into the care they need without treating it as a disorder, but changing it to an injury, right? It's something you can heal from. And so that bill was a big deal. I lost some people that I know personally, and we lost folks out in your neck of the woods. That one was deeply personal because, it was that was big, but there's a lot else. And like shed some light out of this super dark period of time. I gotta feel good about this one too, but that one was quite personal. But hey, listen, you guys, if you want to stay engaged or involved or have more questions for me, Jeremy will throw my info in the chat, and I'm way too accessible also on Twitter and the internet. I tend to respond. So feel free to bug me or troll me or whatever. I'm available.
Thank you, Senator. And you are very online, so he does mean that very seriously. If you
Dangerous
have
thing.
questions.
I think I was tweeting at 1 a.m. last night, so bad news. Hope I was coherent.
Well, thank you, Senator. Thank you, everyone, for your questions and for the great discussion. I want to thank the Senator again for joining us this evening to share his story and his advice. I want to thank you all, the attendees, for joining us this evening. We hope you found it equally beneficial. And please keep an eye out for more information for our upcoming activities that we mentioned at the beginning of our program. And I want to say have a great evening, and we hope to see you very, very soon.